We're live. This is my driving to pick up my son. He works at St. Hubert's here, Canada. It's already snowing. Got the house, got the Christmas lights. That's Josiah's girlfriend. All right. So one of the benefits if I'm live is if I crash, then you guys can all call 911. Let's see.
You're being married.
Oh no, my window was open. Now it's all full of snow. Oh man. Tu vas avoir les fesses trempes, là. Correct?
Ah ouais.
All right.
Ah, ok.
It's gonna work.
Oh my god.
Can you do it sideways?
Ça va tout tomber.
Oh my god. You do it sideways. So stupid. What? The Bluetooth is paired successfully. It's good. Let's do this. How dark is it like that? Gotta get the right lighting, you know, the ambiance. My freaking okay, it works. That's romantic. Do this. Oh. Slippery. Moi, il y a une personne sur le live chat qui parle en français. Là.
Ah ouais?
Ouais. Let's see. All right.
C'est quoi un live stream?
Un live stream, c'est sur YouTube. Puis il y a du monde, il y a 5 personnes qui nous regardent parler contre eux. C'est ça. Mais avec l'ordinateur, tu es capable de mettre comme des écrans que tu peux partager. Fait que si tu veux.
Si tu fais comme un
Ouais,
oral.
ouais, exactement.
Comme la dernière fois, faire une critique.
Ouais. Fait que j'étais en train de faire un avec. Il y avait 14 personnes. C'est beaucoup là, pour un petit poste de même. Puis, okay, enough French. So I live in Quebec, right? So it's the one French province of Canada. Frenchies. Alias Hava. I think he said he's finishing work in 30 minutes. He speaks French, so I'm just trying to show off my oui, voulez-vous de beurre, you know? All right. So when we get back, guys, we're going to continue the debate about evolution. I mean, we barely got into the debate at all. So far, what I saw was Kent Hovind is, like TC says, I think he's a little cocky, but TC says that he's annoying. So that's her thought. So far, I'm not impressed with the debate on the side of the evolutionists because, first of all, he's just kind of using an appeal to authority by saying, like, every single field of science agrees. It's like, okay, well, I have to take that by faith because, you know, what do you mean by that? If you look at my video that I posted yesterday, it's titled not artificial. Intelligent design is real. That's the video. It's the last one posted. Check it out. Also has that I edited. It's Ray Comfort from Living Waters. So yeah, it's a Christian site, and he's talking to again people in university, and he's asking questions, and they really don't have a good response. if you check out my the first part of the live stream that I just stopped, you're going to see that I started playing my video on the live stream, and you can see the utter inability to respond because they're going to talk about all sorts of different kinds of evolution, but Darwinism is based on macro evolution. And when we're talking about macro evolution, that's when species, specific kind of species, change kinds over a long period of time. We have never seen that. So if you know that's the issue. They'll start talking about speciation, which is varieties within that species. So they're going to look, let's say, at bacteria. They're going to say, yes, we've noticed that this bacteria has developed new metabolic pathways. And you're like, okay, but what is what is it now? Well, it's bacteria. Right. So it hasn't changed into even a virus. It hasn't started to grow legs or anything. Bacteria stay as bacteria. And then there's adaptation. Yes, the outer environment will have an impact on organisms. There's even something called epigenetics. So within our genetic code, there's a lot of dormant genes. Now, these dormant genes can often be activated by outside environments. Here's an example. Somebody has within their genes, their genetic code, their DNA, they have a propensity perhaps to develop schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean, and we know there's a genetic correlation because it runs in the family. If you have somebody who's bipolar, there's a high chance that their offspring might be bipolar. But if they, let's say, stay off drugs and they take care of themselves, it doesn't mean that they'll have their first episode. It's guaranteed. You may be carrying a gene that predisposes bipolar disorder, epilepsy, you name it. I mean, some people smoke all their life, and it affects their hearts and vessels. Maybe they have a stroke. Other people, it's genetically it hits their lungs. Others, their heart. I know tons of smokers like, "Are you not short of breath?" No, no, but their heart is trash. So we have within our DNA um, dormant genes. Now they'll call it junk. They'll say, "Oh, well, there's a lot of junk DNA that's kind of useless." It's like, no, you haven't figured out what it's for. People used to say that the appendix was useless. It was like a vestigial organ. Now we understand that actually it's quite important for proper flora, the bacteria that we have, the gastric biocosm of all of these bacteria that live in your intestine. So yeah, out the appendix, but it does have a purpose and stuff like that. So we're going to see that when I get home and we continue watching and then stopping and commenting on that specific debate. The problem with evolution and the Big Bang is, if you really listen to it, and yeah, you listen to the Christian claims, and yeah, they sound pretty stupid. Oh, believe in the Bible. Oh, God said, "Let there be light." Then okay, well, what does the atheistic, secular, Big Bang Theory, evolution believer say? Okay, nothing created everything. And that nothingness that created everything organized itself to such a fine tuned, the universe is so fine tuned, and this is science that says it, that if a few things were off and not tuned correctly, all of life would not exist. So, how the hell did nothing create everything? And that nothing that created everything suddenly had information that didn't come from an informant or someone, an informer, became so fine-tuned over time to allow processes to develop. There's a passage in the Bible that says that uh, all of creation shows God's power and creativeness, and meaning if you look honestly at the physical universe, the world, and how complex and how amazing it is, and we're learning more and more to say that, you know what, yeah, I believe that an intelligent being created this car, created these power plants, created this TV. I believe that an intelligent being, they're humans, they created that. But you look at the complexity of of life, and it is insanely intelligent. It's insanely complex. And to say that all of this came by natural selection, because some cockroaches had better characteristics than others, which is just speciation, it you have to at least remove the lens, remove the goggles for a second, say, yeah, our side really doesn't have much footing either. When we date things, okay, even carbon dating, you need, when you're trying to carbon date, you need a calibration device, meaning you need a something known of a known age, like we know how old this is, and then after that becomes a calibration for carbon 14. There's only a certain amount of time, maybe 20, 30, 50,000, maybe 100,000, but to date things hundreds of millions of years or even billions of years, there's no calibration. You can only go as far with carbon dating if you use as a calibration the oldest piece that you know is that age. Carbon dating assumes that that this rate has been steady from the start of the universe. We don't know that. Rates of radiation, rates of decline, all of these things could have been at a different rate because we're talking about billions of years. We've only started. Thanks for cutting me off. Have a great night. The more that I looked at debates, especially when like PhD scientists that start debating the other one and they actually know what they're talking about. I don't know what they're talking about, guys. I don't know if all of that science, all of those different fields of science agree on something. I don't know that, and you guys don't know unless you're scientists either. What you're doing is you're listening to the scientists who are the priests of science, and you are trusting that they are telling the truth. You are trusting that methods of science. All right, I'm on the highway now. You're trusting that certain scientific methods are done correctly and that assumptions are that there's no assumptions, so everybody is faithful to something. So there is science, like I had mentioned earlier. Now that there's like a few more people, science is a method, and when you're looking at physical science, it's extremely useful because you're able to look at things that you can measure, see, quantify. You can Physical science is what has created all of the amazing advances that we've had. So we have medicine. Medicine, we can look biologically at the human body. We can observe it. We can quantify it. We can do experiments on it. We can dissect it. We can learn about it, and that comes from physical science. Okay, engineering, same thing. Just normal physics, the laws of physics. All of these things come from physical science. But when you get into things like evolution, you have to make assumptions And those assumptions, look, when I started the ketogenic diet, and this YouTube channel was called Fast Keto Prime, I'm a very inquisitive person. So I would go on Google Scholar. I started looking up ketogenic diet. There's tons of information on that. Then I looked at the Canadian Food Guide or the American Food Guide, the standard American diet, what they're telling us to eat, for example. So the food guide says that 60% of our food should be carbohydrates. They keep on telling us to limit animal fat as much as possible. They tell us that if we do eat fat, we should eat these industrialized, solvent-based, oxidized seed oils. Those are healthier than all the fat that our ancestors ate. So that is science. If you start debating about nutrition, they're going to go to studies and they're going to say, "Oh, that's the science. Look at this. This is from Harvard. This is from Oxford. This is from the Lancet." And nutritional science is completely corrupt. It's there's diet associations that sound really like, "Oh wow, this sounds official," and they're funded by Pepsi. So when I went into the ketogenic diet and the fasting, I started learning and like lost like over 40 pounds. And it was amazing. Basically I started seeing, whoa, like that was my red pill moment. I was like, what the hell are they doing? They're telling us to eat all these carbohydrates. What builds your body? Carbohydrates are not essential. That's why humans that went through famines and long periods of no food, they thrived. Okay. When you're truly fasted, your body is amazing. All you do, you don't eat, all of a sudden you go through your carbohydrate sources. When that's done, you start producing sugar through a process called gluconeogenesis. So that's why when I fasted for 5 days, I was at the hospital, I could take my sugar. It remained at 5 millimoles per liter. Now, to put into context how much 5 millimoles per liter is, it's basically on average, depending on your size, 5, 6 liters of blood inside your body flowing through your vessels. 4 grams is 4 millimoles per liter. That's what it represents. So a teaspoon is 5 grams. So let's say there's a teaspoon in there, and your body wants to maintain that. That's why it's an issue if your blood sugar raises, right? That's what happens in diabetes. That's one of the symptoms. So your body, when you consume carbohydrates, they're going to say, "Oh, carbohydrates are the preferred fuel because look, the body uses it first." Okay, well, when you drink booze, your body stops using carbs, and it'll go through all of the alcohol and burn that as fuel. Why? Because alcohol is a preferred fuel? No, because alcohol is a toxin and it wants to eliminate it as fast as possible out of your blood. When you take 40 grams of sugar, when you take, let's say a basic Pepsi or a decent amount of spaghetti, which might go up to 100 grams, now you have 100 grams of uh, sugar, basically. Your body doesn't care if it's apples or Pepsi or chocolate or rice. It's in your belly. It goes into your bloodstream as sugar. Okay, so your body has to deal with 40 grams. Now, when you take the 40 grams, if you're active, sure, it's going to use it for energy. Nothing bad there. And then after your muscles, the more muscles that you have, the more that you can have storage of glucose because it's called glycogen. So your muscles store glucose. The bigger your guns, the more you can get away with sugar. Glycogen is sugar in water. That's why if you are trying to lose weight, and then you eat one big junk meal, you put on like 5 pounds in one day. It's not fat. You didn't get fat by 5 pounds of fat. It's just water shifting. And that's what happens when you fast. You burn through all of your glucose. Once you have no more glucose, your body produces through fat and protein, through gluconeogenesis, the exact amount of sugar that's required. And it's only a teaspoon. There's 20% of your brain that requires sugar. So 20% must be used glucose. The other 80% can work with fat ketones. So your fat produces ketones, and that's a wonderful energy. So now you're fasted, you don't have any food. What's going to happen now is you're producing glucose and just enough to keep your blood sugar normal. And now you start tapping into your fat stores. Now you're using all that chub and rub that you got on your body. That is where you're tapping into. You have fat, and fat is there for when you don't eat. There's nothing wrong with fasting and not forcing and allowing your body to naturally go through all that stored energy. That's how humans, were. They didn't eat every day. They had periods where they had no food. So they got fatter and they got skinnier and they got fatter, and it's okay to fluctuate in your weight. But what about don't you need protein every day or else your body's going to eat? No, that's not true. Just 1 second.
Ouais.
Saya, bien, parce que j'essaie de m'appeler, puis je ne ferai pas ça. Là, on est à peu près 10 minutes. À peu près. Ouais. Okay, so now you're fasted. You have no more glucose. You're using your fat storage for energy. When you are fasting, you are in a catabolic state. Anabolic is when you eat and it builds. Catabolic is when you are not eating and you are using stuff. You're not eating, but now all the food that you ingested, you're in a catabolic state and it's starting to eat everything. If you don't have food, there's a process that is catabolic during the fasting process called autophagy. Autophagy, it means auto, self, phagy, auto devouring. Doesn't sound very good, but it's actually extremely healthy. Autophagy, meaning self-eating, is a cleaning process. When you are no longer introducing food for a prolonged period of time, your blood sugars remain. As long as you have fat, if you're skin and bones and you're not going to fast. If you have no fat stores, problem's going to happen. It's going to go after your muscle. Eventually, it's going to go after your organs for protein. But if you have an ample amount of chub and rub, don't worry, it will use that as a source of energy. Now, what about protein? Your body is riddled with old cells, parasites, bacteria, also all sorts of stuff. What it will do is it will put a stress on your body, and cells that are ready to die. A cell has an auto program called apoptosis. Apoptosis is inside the cell a self-destruction mechanism after a certain amount of time. When you have a large amount of apoptosis occurring that can be stimulated when you are fasting in a catabolic state while autophagy is initiated, apoptosis creates massive cellular death. These cellular deaths have tons of building structures. They have amino acids, they have fatty acids, they have all sorts of products that your body can then either use and eat. So dead cells can be food during fasting, as well as the parts can go back into the section of the cell called the lysosome. Now, the lysosome is a recycling center. It takes stuff. It's like if you had a cabin, okay, and you got to dismantle it. It's done. You can't use it. Well, we always dismantle stuff, and we always keep good parts. So, what do you think is happening in your body? You think your body's stupid? Just because a cell is not,
is not functioning anymore and needs to be dismantled doesn't mean that it cannot be used. It can be used to burn wood, right? So you have a cabin. There's a few things while you're dismantling. Maybe you're burning some of it that's useless. Maybe some pieces or some sections are good and you like, I can use this for something else. See, humans think that we're intelligent. So we'll use, the old wood for the winter, for some heat, for in a way energy. And we're going to use this. Maybe I'll use this old wood because it looks nice. I'll make a rustic look. We use things. We think we're intelligent. No, only intelligent, conscious humans would think that way. Yeah, your body already has a recycling center. Your body already is smart enough that during the fasting state, it will go after the most vulnerable and the problematic areas of your body. That's why people during prolonged fasting can have healings, like ailments that, am I in the right spot? Yeah, yeah, ailments that medicine couldn't fix. Maybe you have like, an injury that just didn't heal properly. Doctors give you Tylenol or naproxen and Advil, right? That's basically what they're going to do. But through fasting, entering the catabolic state and, and initiating, the body just does this all by itself. Autophagy starts, apoptosis occurs, massive cellular death, recycling of those products. While you're not ingesting protein, it is creating the exact proteins that your body requires. This is the human body, okay? Don't tell me that a complex system that we imitate, the body already does. So again, nothing new. Nature's already doing all the things that we're trying to figure out. Don't tell me that this came from nothing that exploded into everything. And I have a fine-tuned, amazing vehicle for, that houses consciousness. They call it the ghost in the machine, right? So what I'm trying to say is protein. Our body can survive on recycling protein for quite some time. It's not going to use it for energy as long as you have fat. Then your body initiates growth hormone. The more you fast, the more and more growth hormone is secreted. Growth hormone is a signal to your body to not go after muscle. So as long as you have fat, you will not be catabolizing. You will not be eating your muscles. Why? Because our ancestors during famines needed to actually be at their top shape. What also occurs is your sympathetic nervous system is activated, your adrenaline system. This gives you energy. You have the calories from fat. All of a sudden, your adrenaline is secreted. Do you know when you eat, you can fall asleep? Try falling asleep when you're starved. You won't be able to. So when you are fasted, your body initiates not only it initiates adrenaline. It's like you're caffeinated, so you become more alert. Okay, after you eat, you're sleepy. When you don't eat, you're like, oh man, I'm starving. You're like all wide-eyed and super amped up when you're starving. Oh man, I'm gonna so you have adrenaline. So that's why our ancestors, God created such a magnificent and intelligent design for the human body. If you don't have food, you actually become more awake. Your muscle is preserved. Your body starts using um, fat for calories. Proteins are recycled. This is all what happens, and people no longer fast. Again, the food guide that tells us to eat six. C'est incroyable comment je peux parler sans arrêt.
Ouais.
I was just telling him like, yeah, it's pretty impressive how I can just like blah blah
Genre,
blah
moi, quand je
forever.
mange, je prends des pauses parce que je suis
Give me a
voisée.
second. We're just arriving. St. Hubert. Rotisserie chicken. Ici, tu qu'on va sortir, là?
Ouais, ben attends. Je vais-
Ah.
On est là.
I'll go back to it. We just arrived to pick up my son. Hey, cool, man. There's like 12 people. I thought that I figured, I had 14 people. I had to cut the live stream. I may as well like just continue the chatting. Sorry, I can't look at your comments. But at least we're talking a little bit about everything, more about ketogenic diet. So, station. Just gonna park because I'm blocking the way. Oh my!
Oh my goodness!
You scared the crap out of me. Bienvenue de où?
T'es où? T'es où?
Where were you? I'm like, didn't
I
see
was
it.
behind the car and you started
Huh?
moving and I started running.
Oh, so you like freaking scared me, man. I'm live streaming while I'm driving.
Cool.
Yeah, say hi.
Hello.
No, they have to see you, dude.
I got it.
It's my good-looking son.
What up, dog?
Yeah, he's almost as good-looking as me.
Almost.
Uh,
I don't know if you saw my text. Is it okay if we stop at Caps real quick?
you always do this, dude.
It's not a
No, I don't mind. We'll do it. I'm just saying, it's like, do you realize every time it's always like, oh, go pick him up, and then it's like, I just have to stop in 12 locations. All right, let's do this. We're back. Okay, so now we have to stop at your girlfriend's. What, now it's gonna be like 15 minutes for me to wait there, or you're gonna go in and out fast?
That's all.
Oh, c'est
I
pour
didn't
toi?
even know. She texted
Ah.
me about 30
Parce que
minutes.
j'ai pas mon sac d'école et tout, on était pas supposé t'envoyer.
Nah, it's okay. It's for his girlfriend, so I'm fine with it now. I wasn't fine. I wasn't fine when it's Josiah. I've gone on like expecting to do 15-minute drives, and I've come back like an hour and a half later.
2 hours.
Do you remember when we were you were with
Adrian or something.
no, you were with Olivia and Ron or something. There was a party, and then it's like, oh, okay, I got to pick them up at Olivia's. Oh no, Dad, we're still at the party. And then it's like you send me a link. I couldn't find it on Google Map, and for some reason, like the whole road was full of people. It was like fireworks or something. An hour and a
That was
half.
at the Vic, huh?
I don't know. Then I waited at the freaking party thing. I text you, we're gonna be 5 minutes. It ended up being 15 minutes me waiting. And then after Ron came in, and then I had to drive to a dépanneur because people wanted cigarettes. And then after Ron said, oh, we just have to drive to a park because I forgot like a radio there. And then I had to stop at Olivia's. And then I got home. It was supposed to be a 15-minute drive. It was like an hour, 40 freaking minute ordeal.
It was a nice conversation, though. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Okay, I was talking about keto. So the whole thing about the ketogenic diet is that I read Nutrition and Physical Degeneration. Please buy that book and read it, or go to my older videos. There is 2 videos where I was expecting to go through each chapter and kind of like do a video so you didn't have to read it and you would get just the bulk of the information. But yeah, it wasn't. So anyways, when I started reading that, it's like they all ate animal food. There's never been a vegan society. Okay? Veganism is not sustainable. The only reason that veganism, this idea of veganism, has infiltrated is because now we have supplements. We can take vitamins. We can take almond milk. It's fortified with vitamin B12. But without modern abilities to get supplementation in fortified foods, there are a lot of nutrients that are missing in the plant kingdom. There are a lot of nutrients that are in a form that is not bioavailable. So let's go through a little bit this idea, because this is what the World Economic Forum is pushing. There's a reason why Bill Gates is buying up. He's the largest. He is the largest farm owner, or he's the largest landowner of farm territory. Just give me a second. What is that thing? Yeah, I hate snowplows. Canada, the snowplows that plow the roads, they have this huge blade in the front. They're crazy. Like they don't care, eh? When you're driving, you're like you're almost going in the ditch. It's like they don't realize that like if you hit into that, you're dead. Like
Your car flips.
Yeah.
And it probably gets right.
I want to go in the slow section. Okay. There's never been a vegan society because we live in such an influent culture. We're able to do this. Now let's look at veganism. Yeah, B12. There's none in the animal kingdom. Fine. So that's a problem. Primates develop B12 that don't eat meat. Primates, they develop B12 in in their digestive tract. So you look at gorillas, they use something called a process called coprophagia. So copa is feces, and phagia is eating. So they eat their poop. Why do they eat their poop? Because the plants that they're eating don't have vitamin B12, but the bacteria inside their digestive tract produces B12, and when it comes out, they got a poop nugget. Then they eat their poop, and they also eat it multiple times because a lot of the nutrients, even from the plant, has not been absorbed. So that's why they eat poop. Garland Farms talked in more detail. There's even like a name for the actual crap that they eat. He just calls it cookie, or sorry, a poop nugget, whatever. Look at some of my discussions with Garland Farms. Um, he goes into Garland Farms. Go see his channel. It blows my mind that he has like 4,000 subscribers only. This guy is lives in Texas. He is a regenerative farmer that his ruminant animals are grass fed. I think that he has cattle and I think goats, maybe sheep at some time. And he explains his videos are short and sweet, unlike mine, and he goes through a lot of the stuff to debunk veganism. He is called a regenerative farmer because the soil and the ruminant animal and the soil have a symbiotic relationship. Okay, without ruminant animals that graze on pastures and eat these vegetations, and then poop and pee, even the way their hooves are created, they are perfect for creating holes for seeds to grow. They irrigate. So ruminant animals, okay, need the soil to survive, or else the plants wouldn't grow. But without the ruminant animals, putting animal organic materials such as feces and urine and stuff like that, the soil would die. You look at dirt, we think of it as, oh, it's just dirt. No. Soil is a living matrix. It's a cosmos of microbiota, of all sorts of viruses, fungi, you name it. Okay, and then within it, yes, there are minerals that are essential. So ground is a very complex uh, system that is living. And if we're not using ruminant animals, putting that manure, that urine back into the soil, uh, it's going to die. And this is what monocropping does. Okay, yeah, I know when you put a tiller and you just mix up that ground and you get it, and now it looks all nice because it was kind of like dry and cracked on the top when you do a garden. You think like, oh, that's healthy. No, basically tilling, agricultural tilling is like an imaginary rake suddenly coming from the sky and just like putting blades and just ripping through cities and towns and people. Okay, tilling is very destructive, but it's necessary for monocropping. Monocrops are also not good. Monocrops are put into the soil, they suck out nutrients, and they are removed. And this process happens over and over again. Tilling, monocrop, sucking it out. So now they want to get rid of ruminant animals. What do you think is going to happen to the ruminant animals? They're not going to allow us to eat the cows, but they're going to use them to renew the soil? No. So we need to return, and that's what JD from Garland Farms, check out his channel, does. The animals have a wonderful life. They are safe. They are protected. When they say that beef, there's this much water needed to create beef, that is not true. Okay, it's called rain. Okay, rain comes from the sky. That's what they're drinking. They're not taking from our water systems. Okay, unless you're doing, the feedlot cows that aren't in the natural habitat that do have a horrible existence. That is extremely unethical. But don't blame beef as a complete group and say, oh yeah, there's some places that they just like put them, uh, lock them in cages and inject them with this and do this. Yeah, that is wrong. But to say that, oh, the natural ecological cycle that is God given, that is built through wisdom and sustained by wisdom, in which humans learn through science the wisdom of nature, and we actually copy that wisdom and we use it and we build technologies. Like I said, there's nothing new under the sun. Humans have not created anything original. Okay, like I said, we're just going through autophagy, a healing mechanism. You know, recycling. Our body is super efficient. The problem is that if you're loading yourself with food every 5 hours, think of it. Okay, look at animals. They never seem disturbed. They seem pretty tranquil. Some of them will go days without eating. They're chill. They're doing their stuff. They're looking for the food. Why is it that humans, okay, that are following the food guide and the epidemic of obesity, okay, and all of the comorbidities that go with it, diabetes, stroke, certain cancers, all this crap, okay? Um, why are you so fat, but you feel like you're going to die every 5 hours if you don't eat? Some people every three. I'm going to eat 3 meals a day. And then I'm also going to add like a snack in between. So that's 6 times you're ingesting food. And you feel hungry. And some people feel dizzy, like they're going to freaking die if they're not eating. They say, I am starving. Well, why the heck are you starving if you have like 100 pounds of fat on you? Does that make sense? Like, isn't that like, like all the animals around here, I don't see any of this obesity epidemic. What's going on? You know what? There are animals that have obesity and diabetes and are extremely unhealthy. There are domesticated animals. They're the animals eating the kibble. Okay? The kibble is not healthy. They also give these pretty much omnivores. The majority of the kibble is all sorts of plant products, the majority. And add a little bit of ash in there and a little bit of meat protein. Okay, in Russia, I had a friend that worked at a hospital, a nurse, and he was from Russia. And he was amazed because he goes, in Russia, they give the dogs food scraps. Dogs are skinny and not fat. He goes, I've never seen like actual like cats and dogs that are fat. Because they don't feed them the kibble. And the World Economic Forum, they want us to eat the kibble. You see it coming along. I've seen like, oh yeah, we can create bugs and we can process these bugs, grasshoppers, whatever it is, into protein powder, and this protein is going to be so-called just as good. Meanwhile, they have no idea what kind of like biological defense mechanisms that the exoskeletons of these bugs have, their hard outer shell that you're going to try and crush. I mean, plants have gluten, that causes a problem. But no, we're just going to crush up the bugs, tell you to eat bugs and not eat meat. JD, it's really sad. JD, this ruminant regenerative farmer, doesn't even have cows anymore. You look at his old video, that was primarily what he was doing. He says in the States now, the farmers that produce the cows and go to the middlemen, the processors that sell it to the grocery stores and everything, they are not, basically, it's not worth doing cattle anymore, because the amount that they make, the amount of money that they put to raise a cattle, the producers are like, what is that name? Anyways, the producers are paying. Let's say it costs them $300 to raise that animal, okay? They are giving them $300 per cattle, kind of thing. I don't know what the price is. So JD literally doesn't even do cows anymore because it's not worth it. So that's how the World Economic Forum is passing their, green agenda, and now they're strangling out farmers because they will want a one world food system that they own. Okay, they want to centralize our food supply. And by centralizing our food supply, that means they got to squish out all these farmers. And then after, they're going to bankrupt them. And then after, they're going to sell out of desperation. And huge companies will be eating up all of this land, and they will produce what they want on there. And I guarantee you, it's not going to be cattle. Okay, they want a green new world. They want us eating a vegan diet. Peasants, okay, people that ate vegan diets were not doing that by choice. Okay, peasants, the majority that they could get was, gruel, beans, and stuff like that. Meat was very scarce. That's why they made, soups and bone broth, and they threw little pieces of meat that they could gather. And what happens is when you put the population in a vegan diet, their libido drops. Go look at veganism on YouTube. Right, veganism and low libido. So now the population, because they're not getting the essential fat and cholesterol, your sex hormones that make you horny, guys, okay, are fat and cholesterol. If you are avoiding fat and cholesterol like the damn plague, guys, then your body, will stop producing. They'll go do more essential things. They need that fat and cholesterol to maintain the myelin sheath that's covering all your nervous system. They're not going to be going and making those sex hormones. You get lower testosterone, you get low libido on a vegan diet over time. Yes, your body actually probably will feel a lot better sometimes when you start a vegan diet, when you're going from a vegan diet, from a standard diet to a vegan diet. It's like a fast, So you're in a catabolic state because you can't get enough nutrients. And the problem is that eventually you do get those nutrient deficiencies. We talked about B12, okay? Unless vegans want to do like gorillas and reprocess that food by eating their feces to get their B12, just not eating it, just rubbing my finger on it. I'm not eating my food, just getting a little bit of B12. I mean, that's the option. But now they don't have to do that. Now they can just, drink their almond milk because it has fortified B12. By the way, even the B12 that these vegans are getting by supplementation, it doesn't mean that it's bioavailable. They still have low B12. Many of them have a lot of problems. They try all sorts. They even have B12 injections. I'm seeing this all from directly YouTube activists that are vegan. Go write why I'm not vegan anymore. Go look at all the vegans. best people to refute veganism are ex-vegans, not
And
not people that have never been vegan. It's those who have been vegan, right? That just makes sense. And they tried it. Some last longer than others, but eventually they quit. And those that oh sorry, yeah, I stopped at a bicycle stop. What was I saying?
On your right.
Yeah, the second one. Sorry, I'm just stopping here. Kilo, t'as 2 minutes. 1, 2, 3, go. Go, go, go. All right. Hurry up. Yeah. So you also have beta carotene. That's a huge issue. So when you're eating carrots, and look at all your vitamins there. When it says like, oh, I got the vitamin, they're all plant derivatives. So when you're getting your vitamin D, it's often vitamin D2. Animal food has vitamin D3. D3 is what your body prefers to use. D2 can help out, but it only D2. You're going to have a vitamin D deficiency. Yes, you can get sun, right? Sun produces also vitamin D, but look at here, for example, in Canada, it's snowing outside. There's no vitamin D happening. We're all covered in like, warm clothing and stuff like that. So if I am vegan, I'm going to become severely depleted in Canada with my vitamin D issue. When you eat eggs, when you have any kind of animal food, eggs especially are high in vitamin D3. You won't, you like don't even need the sun to get it, as long as you're eating a good amount of eggs every day for breakfast. Okay. The staple for breakfast there is bacon, eggs, sausage. All right. It's not Kellogg's cornflakes. Did you know that Kellogg's cornflakes was created by a Seventh-day Adventist? A Seventh-day Adventist is a kind of branch, a cult sect of Christianity. They have non-biblical beliefs, and they believe that we should be eating the Garden of Eden diet, which is a vegan diet. And the issue is that, yes, we were vegan in the Garden of Eden, but it said that when man fell, all of creation fell. It said that now, you've sinned and you'll die. It says that, you'll have to work and the sweat of your forehead to sustain yourself now. You're not in paradise anymore. The plants that you once ate now have developed thorns and thistles. So all of creation fell from the Edenic paradise. And if you look at Revelation, the lion, you ever heard the lion will lay down with the lamb? That's actually not in the Bible. That's actually from Martin Luther King Jr.'s one of his speech. The passage in the Bible says something like, the wolf and the lamb will lay down together, and the small child will carry them, will walk with them. Well, no, will lead them. That is, the wolf and the lamb will lay down together, and the child will lead them. That is in Revelation. That is when we return to paradise, to the way the earth was supposed to be, where there's no death. It's weird because people like laugh and say, "Oh gosh, the Bible's so crazy. It says that like Methuselah lived for 900 years. That's so stupid." Like imagine, yeah, right. The Bible thinks we lived for 1,000 years. Sure. Well, in Revelation, when Christ comes back, there's a 1,000-year millennial reign here on earth. And the thing is that all of a sudden, while it's still physical earth, but things start changing back. People start living longer. When I get there, there's a passage in Isaiah, and it basically says that someone who passes away at a year of 100 would be considered like, oh my goodness, this person, passed away at a very young age. So there's something when Jesus comes back to do his millennial reign that nature starts changing because of his rule on earth. That's why Jesus came That's why Jesus came in the gospel, and he was doing specific things, right? He was doing some weird stuff, the guy. So he starts by changing water into wine. Then he raises the dead, letting us know that when Jesus comes back, okay, to redeem not only man but creation, and he will have dominion over it. He's showing us that, you know what? I can raise you from the dead. I can allow you to live forever. You fall off a cliff, boom, in the new world, I can raise you. Or just my presence on earth, because I basically Jesus is the word made flesh. And that means that God created through the word. Everything is sustained. Everything was created by wisdom, through wisdom, for wisdom, and wisdom permeates the whole universe and sustains it. So that's how God is omnipresent and everywhere. So what was I trying to get to with that? Yeah, when Jesus comes back, all of a sudden we're able to live longer. When he was sleeping in the boat, and this huge storm came, and all the apostles on the boat were freaking out. And then he gets up and he tells the storm to stop. And they're like, "What? Who is this guy? Like, what kind of man says to the storm stop and it listens?" Then the guy's walking on water. What's he doing? He's showing you a foreshadow. He's showing you um, a sneak peek of how nature, how creation, along with man, will redeem. And he is showing, look, I can raise the dead. I can calm the storm. I can transform water. I can you know what? You want some food? I can raise the basket and multiply stuff. I can like fish appear in the net. He's going through all of the parts of creation, and it's so cool when you go deeper and deeper into the Bible, because then you're like, oh, okay, like that's why he was doing those weird things. Is he's letting you know, like, I am the Word that is made flesh. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. What does he mean by was God? In the start was the eternal Son, who is wisdom. He has a personhood. He was with God because God has always had wisdom. But wisdom is brought forth from God. God is not brought forth from wisdom. So when we're talking about Jesus is God, stuff like that, it is not disrespecting the hierarchy of the Father. The Son, the Word, the eternal Son, the only begotten Son, is brought forth from the Father. Okay, he is not begotten, meaning created. If you look at the word begotten, man, I'm just rambling, right? Because we're driving. When we get back to the live stream, I'm going to concentrate more on continuing that debate. If you haven't seen the first part of the debate, just continue with my next live stream. But you should look at it because the first part's interesting. Don't forget, go see my last video that I published. I worked hard on it. It's about 30 minutes. I did a lot of editing on that, so that's a lot of work. Um, so Jesus, when he comes back, there will be changes in it'll still be a physical place, but the characteristics will start returning to Eden. And then after the 1,000-year reign, it's not over. Then something new happens, and who knows what that is. But it says, then there will be a new heaven and a new earth. And then we don't know what that is, but that just goes boom into eternity. So that's exciting. We don't really know everything, but we know that eventually Jesus will come. But before he comes, there is some nasty, nasty stuff, guys. You go through Revelation, you look at the seals, you look at the bowls, you look at all of the crises that are going to start, and they speak to it like they call it birth pains. So it means that the war, there's wars that'll happen like rumblings, you know, than bigger wars, than more civil unrest, more ethnic fighting, more global disasters, more violence, more hatred, and it just becomes so big. And while this is happening, there's what they call a beast system. So the beast system, the Antichrist will not come while we all have nations. But notice how our nations are disintegrating. So what I mean by that is that the World Economic Forum is controlling the nations under the guise of the Great Reset. Klaus Schwab wrote a book called The Great Reset. He tells you exactly what they are going to do to us. And it even says, in the end, it will be good for them. What do you mean in the end it'll be good for us? So you're letting us know that you guys are going to be changes and force it upon us, force your agenda. And in the end, we'll smile and realize that these leaders, they're the superior overlords making us eat freaking bugs. And what you're seeing now is, let's say, Trudeau in Canada. He's totally throwing Canada under the bus. He's thrown Canada under the bus. And then you see Klaus Schwab talking about how exciting it is. Yes, we have global leaders like Justin Trudeau. You know, he talks like a freaking villain. He looks like a villain. Serious, right?
I don't know.
You see. So there's no beast system yet. The vaccine is not a mark of the beast.
Yeah.
Okay, but what we do see is for like shadows of it. You know, it's like you can't buy or sell. You know, you have to receive the mark to take part in society. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, what's up?
Oh, okay. I was just trying to reach you. Are you on your way back?
Yep, on my way back.
Nobody needs to be picked up where you're kind of fish.
What time does Noah have to be picked up?
Don't worry about it.
No, it's okay. What time does Noah have to be picked up?
Between now and 9:30 or
No. Okay, so tell him. Yeah, I'm not exactly. Tell him that I'm on my way. I should be there in 15 minutes.
Okay.
All right. Cool. And I have to get 7 Up, right? For her. Yeah.
Just something to drink. I know the cat
Yeah.
drinks 7 Up and there's something in the house. You know.
Okay.
I'm sure it's your
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. All right. All right. Love you. Bye. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah, Klaus Schwab. So when you look at the COVID issue, you can see first of all how the population can be mass propagandized. Okay, Hitler used this technique. He says, if you want somebody to believe a lie, you repeat it over and over, and if you make a lie about something that is huge, people will always say, "Nah, that can't be. They wouldn't do that." Yeah, they will, and that's how Hitler propagandized. You look at
Kanye said the same thing.
well, it's true, but I'm not Kanye. It's a little whacked, but yeah. So this propaganda. There's somebody on YouTube that did a video where there's a compilation. So he set them all up, all of these like news stations. There was like 20 news stations, and then after he timed it, they all start. Josiah, they all said the exact same word. They're not taught. They are parroting. They're regurgitating propaganda over and over. When people were using logic about the vaccine and going, look, they're coming out saying it's 97% effective, right? Okay, so if you're pro-vaccine, then get the vaccine. Now you're protected from COVID. You're also protected from me, because if I'm saying if I'm an idiot, right, that didn't get the vaccine, I'll take my chances. Maybe I'll catch it. Hey, maybe I'll die. Great, It's like there's evolution weeding out the stupid people. No, what they actually said was you're a bad person if you don't get vaccinated because it's not about you catching it, it's about you spreading it to others. And that's not true. So it's like they just repeated it over and over. So there they were able to villainize, right? They're able to really villainize the unvaccinated by saying that we're biohazard weapons, we're biological weapons with our own freaking breath. You know what I'll do? So I'll give you my debit card. Yeah, just tap.
Very quick, yeah.
We're just stopping at the Dépanneur. We call it, the general stores are called Dépanneur parce que ça dépend au bout, là. You compris? All right, here you go. Get me those over there. They have like just those sticks. There's ones like spicy, you know, like the pepperoni sticks. Get 2 of those.
Spicy.
Yeah, it says extra heat, whatever. Get 2 of those.
Okay.
If they have curds, get that.
Meat, curds, drink.
Meat curds. Yeah, and get me whatever. I like the Powerade, or get zero.
Okay.
And then get what she wants. Get a little thing what you want, you know, whatever. All right. Yeah, so they demonized the unvaccinated. Then now the science came out and it's like, oh, you know what? The vaccine, let's say you got vaccinated, you could still catch it, maybe not have symptoms, and you could spread it as much as the unvaccinated. But the whole pandemic, okay, the unvaccinated were being villainized. Okay, and it was really bad. Like families, you know, certain families, people in families were no longer talking to each other. Friends stopped being friends on this issue. Freaking neighbors shunned, like my mom didn't get vaccinated, and she's like, oh, one of my neighbors is like shunning me now because I'm unvaccinated. The strain, okay, like I said, I worked in the ICU as a respiratory therapist. 300 patients. Some were intubated, some weren't. I went through it. I saw the CT scans, the X-rays, the blood tests. It was the same pathophysiology over and over. I am not denying that there was a virus, okay? And I'm not denying people that think it was just a flu. No, it was very, very unique what was happening. It was causing inside the lungs massive microclotting. So what would happen, you get the virus, you had the ACE2 receptors, they would connect, okay? They had ACE2 receptors. We had patients with severe COVID that were also getting completely confused and demented. There's ACE2 receptors that combined in your digestive tract, so that's why it could affect. So ACE2 receptors they're a little bit everywhere. We have some in the kidneys. Severe COVID back then caused a renal failure, but the ACE2 receptors within the lung is where they're most concentrated. So when it infiltrated your lungs and the through the ACE2 receptors, your whole body initially, some people, not everybody, but some people had what you call a cytokine storm. So this weird coronavirus caused an overreaction, and cytokines are a defense mechanism that your body, you got it, that your body secretes. Yeah, thank you. The ACE2 receptors. Sorry, I'm not concentrating. Yeah, curd. Yeah.
I got you this one, like a gummy zero.
Yeah. Yeah. So here in Quebec, there's cheese curds. And it's made locally from a St. Albert company here, and they have grass-fed cows, and it's a really good source of cheese.
make a whole bunch of
Yeah.
varieties, mild, strong.
No, exactly.
Encourage cheese. It's not just one man.
How is he gonna get into me?
Là,
What?
C'est des pneus de.
I don't know. Oh, it's from the go-karting.
Yeah, I thought it was truck tires.
Oh, it could be truck tires too. What were we talking about? We were talking about the vaccinated. Oh yeah. So what COVID would do is a cytokine storm. Cytokines are fighter cells that would go and destroy and poison pathogens. But when you get an overreaction, a cytokine storm, it just floods your body and it does what it's supposed to do to pathogen. It does it all over your body. So the vessels would become damaged, all of your blood vessels. And then after uh, I don't know the mechanism, and we didn't know the mechanism, but it was forming clots everywhere. Some big clots, some pulmonary embolisms, but inside the lung, okay, how does the lung work? There's air. Yeah, okay, so you have the alveoli here. These are the air sacs, but around the air sacs, there's all sorts of capillaries. There's a blood supply, and that air sac with all those vessels around it, the alveoli, they call them the air sacs. This is where the gas transfers. The CO2 goes into the alveoli, the oxygen goes into the blood, and then you exhale the CO2. You know, that's how it works. So the lung isn't obviously only about air; it's about also blood supply through the lung. So you have a ventilation aspect, you have a perfusion aspect. We call that a VQ ratio, ventilation to perfusion. What was happening was the air was normal. There was no issue with the air, but there was tons of clots. So we could give them 100% oxygen. Doesn't matter if there's no blood going to the air sacs because of the clotting. You can give 1,000% oxygen. You're still going to have really low oxygen supply in the lung. So that's why when the patients would come in, we would try the usual stuff, give them high flow oxygen. Man, that wasn't working. Okay, well, the CDC, they told us to intubate them. Well, we didn't intubate patients all freaking throughout the pandemic because I'm telling you the truth here. Like I'm not one-sided there. I'm really in the middle. So I'm not like I have issues with the vaccine. I have issues primarily because they mandated it. You know what? If people wanted to take a chance with the vaccine, go ahead. So it's not necessarily the vaccine that I have an issue with. It's the way they manipulated society and said, we're not forcing you, but you lose your job. You can't come to work. You're fired. So we're not forcing you or anything. No one's coming with a gun and a jab, but we're just going to remove your ability to pay your rent, to buy food and everything. So that's a crime against humanity. They coerced, okay? They freaking, dangled. Do you want the jab or do you want your life? Do you want to lose your house and everything? You better take the jab and then after they created, through propaganda, all of this negative, you're a bad person, you don't care about other people. Look at this propaganda. This was done in a matter of like 1 year. Mass brainwashing, mass segregation, okay? And who made the money during the pandemic? Amazon, all these huge online companies. Bill Gates made I think he made 10 times the profit in 2 years. So Bill Gates became rich. The pharmaceutical industries became rich. And all of the entrepreneurs, all the mom and pops, they all closed up. Okay? No, this is not the beast system. But I'll tell you one thing. You need one step at a time before you actually get to that system. And no, it's not the beast system, but frig, man, you can see how all of a sudden the birth pains, the contractions before the delivery are happening. We're seeing birth pains of the beast system in labor, and it's about to be born. And we will be screwed, guys, okay? They are pushing a vegan diet, like I said. Let's go back to the nutrients in a vegan diet. We said B12, we said D3.
I'm all over the place. That's how it is. The driving sessions, they're all over the place. You stop in, it's exciting. It's very exciting. Okay, where am I at? What was I talking about? Oh, the beast system.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah. So it's like I even heard like people, they're like, well, you know what? Because they gave the impression that the hospitals were overwhelmed. Okay, at least I can only speak about my region. We had ample ventilators. We were able to cover all the shifts. So let's say the normal ICU, we have. Give me a second. I'll count just for my ICU. Uh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 20. We have about 20 patients in our ICU. We're not the biggest ICU. You have university hospitals that might have 40. We had 20 patients. Now, these are the regular patients that we see in ICU. The bulk of them are chronic obstructive lung disease, pulmonary fibrosis, a lot of congestive heart failures, a lot of sepsis, bloodborne infections, pneumonias, bowel obstructions, and some post-op patients, right? That's like the bread and butter. That's just like what we see over and over. I mean, I've treated so many patients and seen over and over what we're prescribing, what we're doing in the orders, and understanding the lab. Like an intensivist could probably not even show up, and the nurse and the therapist will know how to run the vents, know how to intubate. It's just so much repeating. I'm not saying that I think I'm a doctor. I'm just saying that's what we do. Now, COVID, it hits. Now, all of a sudden, we have these people coming through the door, not flooding in masses. We didn't have coolers outside because we're just packing in the dead. We had anywhere from 5 to 10 COVID patients on top of what we initially had. But there's is a weird thing that happened. The ICUs were more busy, but the surgical and anesthesia, the surgeries, they all became like, no, we're not doing elective surgeries. We're just doing, stat. All of these people waiting, they closed down almost. It was like at a snail pace. Some of the nurses that were in there ended up being forced to come and do nursing in the ICU. So then after, I remember seeing these freaking, these things were choreographed, guys. Okay, I saw staff doing dances that had to be choreographed. Like there was hours. Like they had to do this a few hours, to get this right. I was looking at this. Oh gosh, what a bunch of freaking idiots! Like it looks like we're not busy. So we were super busy in the ICUs. Us, we weren't overwhelmed. I don't know what happened in Italy. I don't know what happened in China. I don't know what happened in New York. Maybe it was a horror show. I don't know. But basically, we had 5 to 10 more patients, and other hospitals also had it. We took a section and created a isolated ICU, so we didn't have COVID mixed in with the others. We opened up a section and renovated, made that the COVID ICU. This is what we did at the start, guys. At the start, we were told to intubate them. We intubated them. It didn't help with the oxygenation. Why are you blowing air through a tube on a machine when the air is fine? It's about clotting. Then we tried to heparinize them. We tried to anticoagulate them. So you got clots. Usually you get clots, we give you heparin. We anticoagulate. Well, those clots were something special because the anticoagulants did not do anything to really relieve the issue. Then after it was complicated because if we heparinized them too much, they'd get like bleeds. So then after we had a lot of peritoneal bleeds, and then we'd have to go to surgery and fix that. So heparin wasn't a solution. Intubating them wasn't a solution. So then we stopped intubating them. So now we were giving like nasal cannulas, 60 liters up their nose that's humidified and heated. Okay, well, they were stuck on 100% and they still had low levels. And we were like, well, okay, That's not fixing it, but intubating's not fixing it. So then after they eventually, some of them did get better. Some of them needed a lot of oxygen, and you see the oxygen requirements go down, and those ones survived. But we could tell when you were stuck for over 10 days on 100%, you were dead. We knew that we could intubate you. We even intubated these people that were stuck on 100% because eventually I said it was really clotting and the alveoli weren't affected, but eventually, the disease infiltrated the alveoli. So now you had no ventilation because now you have a real lung issue that usually responds. Like when your lung has a pneumonia, when you have water in the lung, when you have water around the lung, intubating, that's the treatment because the lung is edematous.
They just chop us. Like, don't even.
Well, I gotta go inside too.
Oh, okay, I get to pick up.
Oh crap! Yeah, I gotta. Thank you. I forgot. So then it infiltrated the alveoli. Often, let's say congestive heart failure, it creates water in the lung. When you get water in the lung, your lung compliance gets really stiff. You get short of breath. It's like put some water in your lungs, breathe around, see what's going to happen. Those people, if we push air with a tight mask called non-invasive ventilation, or if they're really bad, we have to intubate them. That is the treatment. The intubation works very well. Okay. If you have a pneumonia, you got full of phlegm. Okay. Sometimes it's bad enough we have to intubate you. Then we put a suction catheter. We're able to aspirate all of that crap out of your lungs. So intubating is good. These people, initially, intubation was not good. But eventually, some of these patients started getting the actual air areas full of pus and complications. We had to use a mask. It was our only option. It's like, okay, well, let's try and push. It did help a little bit. And then these patients would stay stuck on that for days. That's torture, guys. You realize having this tight mask, okay, that it's like you put straps over your head, the mask, you put clips, and you tighten that thing, okay? Okay, we don't tighten it that much, but sometimes we had to because they had feeding tubes in their nose and it caused leaks, so you had to put it tighter. These things are good to prevent intubation for like 2-3 days. But these people were like, oh, intubating's not going to help. So let's just keep them on the mask. So they were on some of these people stayed on a mask for months. We gave like a medication to sedate them, to some narcotics. So we're trying to keep them like drowsy so that they're not as conscious, and that didn't work. Some of them we intubated. That didn't work. We flipped them on their stomachs to change the blood supply to the lung. Sometimes that didn't work. We bring them downtown to the McGill University Health Center. We said, look, put them on extracorporeal membrane oxygenation. Put them on a heart and lung bypass. Let's bypass the heart and lung. So they put them on that. They died anyways because they thought, well, let's put them on the heart-lung bypass machine, and then maybe after a week or two, the lung will heal itself. Well, in these cases, it never healed. It caused the massive inflammation from the cytokine storm, and then from the virus itself. What it was doing was it just caused a fibrotic lung that was like very scarred, and a lot of dead blood vessels that were not supplying oxygen. They were dead. So even bypassing it, that's the truth. That's what the virus was. So that's my take on it. You know what? The virus, the vaccine, that mandate, in my opinion, was a crime against humanity. That's my opinion on that. Okay? The vaccine, okay, I was worried about long-term effects. My wife works in preclinical research. She's the one that worked when Pfizer and Merck and all of these corrupt pharmaceutical companies, put new medication. So they study it on rats, and they study it on dogs, and they study it on monkeys and stuff like that. It takes 7 years. They were like, the people that work this stuff, they're like, oh, geez, I'm not comfortable taking that. It's been rushed through. It's an emergency, uh, put it in circulation fast because it's a pandemic and it's desperate. And the whole world's gonna die. So, I was like, well, you know what? I rather take a chance with the virus. I ended up catching the virus. I caught the first strain in November, and boy, was I sick. I was really sick. That was more than just a flu for me. My oxygen levels, that are usually 98%. I've spoken to this in previous videos. The 90%, the around 96, 98%. I was at 90. If I went to the hospital, they would have gave me oxygen. When your blood supply goes down, when your red blood cells are 90% oxygenated, there's a complex biochemical reaction. But once you hit 90, you can plummet like really quickly. For like once you hit 90, the oxygen that binds to the hemoglobin just comes off really fast. So all of a sudden you can like really plummet. Um, I wasn't short of breath, but I was like breathing shallow. I'd only cough if I took deep breaths. I was extremely weak. I slept for 3 days. I didn't even get up to pee. And I lost 20 pounds. It took 2 weeks, for me to recover. And then I went to the hospital. Usually I can bang out. Like I've done 3 pays, so that's 6 weeks of almost every day, 16 hours. Not every day, but it was like I was banging out like 3,600, almost $4,000 clear. I was just banging it out. I can do that. I can work. I'm always busy. Like between my rounds, I'm making a freaking video. If I'm not making a video, I'm doing a lecture. I'm just a little bit crazy. So I'm always doing something. And after COVID, I tried to, bang out, I think 3 16 hours. I end up freaking passing out in the ICU. So yeah, it really affected me. One of the doctors, he refused to get tested because he knew he had it, but he didn't want to stop working. He was doing a procedure, and there was another doctor, and he had to step out because he was going to like pass out. So, the virus did kill people. 80% that entered the ICU with this 100% oxygen not responding, only 20% came out. We saved some. Intubating wasn't a death sentence. We did save some patients, not many. And that's the truth about what was being experienced. The ICUs are always busy. It's not like when COVID happened that the emergency rooms weren't dealing with the overcrowding of all the other darn stuff that we usually do. But we did have extra. In my region, I don't know, it was really well handled. But I don't agree with dangling your livelihood to in a way indirectly force you and coerce you and threaten you that you're going to lose your job if you don't get it. We're not forcing you; it's your choice. That is a crime against humanity. The virus, the variants, the variant at the moment, I don't know. Like everything passed so fast the last 3 years, but it's been a year that we haven't had those kind of COVIDs. Now we get COVIDs. Some of them might come in, but the majority of them are just positive, and they have other issues. And we test everyone, so they're like, "Oh, this patient's here for sepsis. Oh, they're COVID positive." Okay, well, they're not on 100% anymore. So I don't know. I'm a professional. I know how to ventilate. I know how to do my job. Okay, so really, my opinion on this doesn't affect treatment. I don't bring my beliefs, opinions into how I treat the patient. It doesn't matter. I could believe in flat earth. Okay. It's when I go to work, I know my job and I do it well.
Give me a second. I got to pick up my kid. I want to make sure to tell him I'm here. 2 seconds, guys. Oh, I should show you my my work YouTube channel. Um, I, I did a lot. Like I have 2 COVID studies that are taking forever because I don't work in a university hospital. It's just me and one doctor. I'm doing the mechanical ventilation and oxygenation part of his study. I think his study is more the cocktail that he used, Decadron, which is a glucocorticosteroid for inflammation. He had the heparin. I think that he did a slightly different cocktail than what the University Health Center was doing. So his aspect of his study is very pharmaceutical, and but he wanted to add the ventilation, what modes, how much oxygen, what settings were there, and we're gonna put all that on Excel and do the data analysis. What up, buddy? I'm doing I'm doing a live stream. If you're wondering why I'm talking to myself.
Hope the snow stays because then I'll actually be able to ride that ski-doo that I just bought.
Yeah. Is it working, the skidoo,
Oh,
or
yeah.
are you gonna start crying when you
The
try and
motor
turn it
is
on?
brand
Oh, good.
new. The motor.
Okay, that's nice. Okay, I'm talking. Sorry. Um, yeah, about COVID. What was I saying? Yeah, one of the studies has a pharmaceutical aspect. So I'm kind of like I'm doing the data input. I don't want to say I'm co-authoring it because I'm not really going to do the analysis. That's the doctor I'm working with. But I did have a um, new device which is called electrical impedance tomography. And this is a belt that I put around the chest, 16 electrodes. It works on 50 hertz. So these electrons send signals across your chest, and this goes around like this 50 times per second. And when you're breathing, when you're inspiring and expiring, what it's doing is it's causing a different amounts of impedance to the signal. More air, more impedance, which is resistance. Less air, less impedance. So by putting it around the chest, I'm able to actually see the distribution of ventilation within the lung. So usually we have just the ventilator. So I'm putting volume, I'm checking the rate, I'm putting these parameters. But let's say if I see, oh, the patient's getting 500 milliliters of air in the lung. I don't know where it's going. Is it being distributed evenly throughout the whole lung? Or is there a section that's not getting any and that's pushing the air towards another section that might be more compliant, and then that might over distend? So it's like we're blind. Basically, we have good science on limits of a pressure and what we should do. We've come a good way in the last 20 years, but we don't know where the air is going. We'll take an X-ray, that's a snapshot. We don't see the dynamic flow of air or anything. So I was using this on all the COVID patients, okay? I took 70 of these patients. I was doing these tomographies while adjusting the parameters. So if people think that we're just a bunch of idiots that jam a tube down your throat, put a machine and blow you up like a balloon, that's not true. I was spending hours and hours at the bedside, fine tuning the parameters. It's able to measure regional compliance within the lung. I was able to make the settings and make sure that the compliance was optimized. Checking for over distension, checking for atelectasis. Atelectasis is collapsing of alveoli. So this is my channel that I have. It's called Palma Vista 500 Guided APRV. And then after in my study,
I used airway pressure release ventilation. Airway pressure release ventilation is an unconventional mode that people don't use. Physicians aren't really taught it in university, so they don't use it. And therapists, respiratory therapists, they're hardly taught about the. I was taught like they mentioned it like 5 minutes. So I started using that, and it did have it did save some lives. That mode, if we would not have used it in certain patients, they would have died. So my study uh, is also looking at specifically airway pressure release ventilation. Some patients were on it, some weren't. So we'll be able to do the data analysis and see if APRV was better in oxygenation, even though it was poor but wasn't better than conventional modes that we use. Was the CO2 eliminated better? So that's basically my work, and I lecture in the United States. I lecture in Canada. I go to the college where my profession is, and I do a PowerPoint presentation there. So, COVID patients, we were there watching these people on 100%. We knew when the threshold was hit that there's nothing we could do. We were talking to these people, and their families were not allowed to visit them back then. Even they weren't even allowed to have funerals, and these patients just had us to die. Like they didn't have family members at the bedside. It was just us, and we got to know them. Some of these, stayed, like a month and a half, and hearing about their lives. There's one guy that was there, and his family was in uh, somewhere in England. And he had an English accent, from England, and while he's there, he shows me a picture of his brother on BiPAP, and his brother died of COVID. So this guy's dealing with his brother that died, and then somebody else also died. Two of his family members died in England, and now he's there, and I'm coming with the freaking mask that he knew his brother died on. Okay, so there's a lot of getting goosebumps and thinking of that. There was a lot of love to do that because we would die. They knew that we knew that we would be the replacement family, and that's what healthcare is, right? It's supposed to be, but like every institution, it becomes corrupted because man has fallen and corrupt. But the foundation is truly care and compassion, and so yeah, I was doing the research project, and that made me super busy. But I it was the care and compassion, and it was really sad. I mean, we even had like a doctor, a doctor's family member. So that was really weird too. Imagine you're a doctor, and now your father is in the COVID ICU, and that doctor was more a medicine floor. They didn't not ICU floor, so she didn't even know the pattern that we were starting to see, and she was a nervous wreck. It's hard when you're a physician. You can imagine, like you want to treat your family member. We had to tell her you're not allowed to go into negotiate. You're not allowed to prescribe stuff. She was like writing prescription. It's like, no, this is your family member. You can't do that. And yeah, they finally she wanted to get him transferred downtown for the ECMO machine there, the bypass machine. I think the threshold was 70 years old, and he was 72 or something. They, she managed to transfer the patient. He died. Her father died. So uh, like JD from Garland Farms, my friend, like he disagrees. Like he has his own perspective, and he feels that COVID was just a flu, and that all of the illness and stuff like that was caused actually by the masks. Now, I'm not saying that suck it. You can go. I'm almost there. I'm not saying that huffing and puffing through a disgusting mask that people were probably wearing for a long time is healthy. Probably not good. But I never wore the mask, right? I just wore masks like I usually do at work. I caught it very early, and then I was off for 2 weeks, very sick with COVID. I was not wearing the mask a long time. I caught it right even before it was like where there wasn't even, when Fauci was still saying like it's not necessary to wear a mask. And I went through the low oxygen, being quite ill, losing 20 pounds in a month, unable to eat, having to eat a liquid diet. Pain everywhere. I had this rare thing that I had to look up. It was literally like if I touched just my skin lightly, it's like it affected my nerves. It was painful to just slightly touch my skin. I went on PubMed, Google Scholar, and I checked it out, and it's like, yeah, it was like a hyperesthesia, like a hyper reaction to stimulation. And that was not because of the mask. Okay, so that's my perspective. I think it's well rounded. Most of the medical people are completely, following the narrative. I wasn't. I didn't want to get the vaccine. I believed that I caught it, that I probably had superior immunity to it. And it's really sad because then it was like, okay, at this date is the cutoff. If you're not vaccinated, you're not allowed to work. You're suspended without pay. Prior to that, so what they did is really manipulative, right? So they were like, oh, it's just volunteer, right? If you want it, it's available. And then after, when the population, they waited for that. And then it was like, okay, seems no one's taking the vaccine. Okay, let's put up the pressure. Oh, well, now you have to get tested 3 times a week. Okay, well, that's really convenient. So I tried to do that as long as I could. And then when the date was approaching, I had two research projects that I had spent all my extra time on. I had my wife that was sick at home. I had Josiah, my son, teenager, going through major difficulties. So the house was chaotic. There was just so much stuff. So what do you think I did? I cracked okay, I'll say it. I guess not a swear. I cracked like a big pussy. Oh well. Well, you know what? Then I online I was called scum of the earth because I was the vaccinated. So now you have the unvaccinated that are, saying that the vaccinated have the mark of the beast and that they're following, that they're evil. And it's like, what the hell is going on? Like no one has everyone is group think. Everyone is massive thinking. They're grabbing huge amount of people and they're like, you're there. Then, oh yeah, you're there. It's like, okay, no, how about everyone's an individual and everyone has their specific situations and stresses and beliefs. Okay, so we're home, guys. I am going to go upstairs and then I'm going to end this live stream and then I am going to restart the other live stream, and hopefully you guys already saw the first part. We're going to continue watching this debate by 3 university professors debating the side of evolution and some crazy wacky Christian. I'm sorry, but I want you guys to see this because I was quite surprised. I think that I was expecting the Christian to make a fool of himself, and I was expecting the educated PhDs, the priest of science, to just level him with logic and rationality. And I was shocked. And I didn't just watch one. I watched 1, 2. I just, because I get into something and that's all I focus on. So I watched every single freaking debate, like hours, hundreds of hours, and everything. It shocked me. And I was like, and especially when it's not necessarily a Christian, but it's intelligent design versus evolution. And these guys have PhDs And when these guys from the evolution side start spitting out something, this guy's like, no, 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 that's not true. This is it. So you have two people on the same page and they're able to call each other out way more. I watch those. And that's why I want to watch this debate. And there's so much to say about it. There's going to be multiple streams. Maybe obviously I'll do this stream, and maybe in a few more streams I'll come back and we'll continue the conversation. Guys, I do want somebody with some cojones to press the link when I'm upstairs and join the conversation. You're welcome to join. JD's the only one that pops up. Okay. I want, I am Kai, Margaret, Highness, Elliot, you guys have to come on. We gotta make this more of a community, right? Make it exciting, not just, chatting and stuff. It's very hard because unfortunately I don't see the majority of the chats. I don't see it. I can check after, but it's too late. Sometimes you guys make awesome comments and I'm like, oh man, that would have been great. That would have been like an awesome topic to talk about. So this is just a little bit of the snow. Not much there. This is, the banks are going to be like, up to at least your waist, So this is the car that I was driving. Tiny little Yaris. This is the Corolla. This is a nicer one. So the way we cycle is I buy the new car, my wife gets a new car, and I always get the old one. The Yaris is like tiny, and my wife is like a little like a little gnome. Okay, she's like 4'11" or 10. She's not even 5 foot. Technically, she can get a handicap parking. If you're under 5 feet, you can get that. So she's like a tall, sexy midget. Anyways, so I'm the 6 foot guy that's driving a tiny Yaris. Looks like a clown in the clown car. She gets the nice Corolla. That's marriage, man. That's gotta please them. Just shut up. I'm in the house. She can't hear me. Yeah. All right. So this is the house. So this house is 135 year old. It's actually the first schoolhouse in St. Telesport. So this was a schoolhouse. This section over here actually didn't exist. So it was actually just this area here, and then this area here was added. At one point, this house became a garage. So this section here, these two windows, this used to be like like the old school garages where it's not a lift, but there's like a pit and there's stairs. You walk down to work under the car. This was like that here. And then at one point it became a restaurant. So this is why we have like these weird cabinets, like they're stainless steel. I mean, crazy the amount of stuff. Oh no, can you go get it, please? All right, keys are in my bag. So obviously there's a lot of renovations like this thing is like needs to be renovated, but the house has tons of potential. These beams actually are not the original. They're not here. We had a tongue and groove. Like look at how they used to put things together, man. It was like tongue and groove and stuff like that. There's no nails almost. So what happened is we had it looked like a mini barn that's attached to the back, and we had these poplar trees that were like freaking they're like 200 like 100 feet tall. They were like just towering over our house and a little bungalow beside us. And if one of those branches like cracked, it would like go through the house and kill them. So we had to like take down 3 trees. The last one, they did it wrong and it smashed and it smashed right through this old barn. So when I was talking about autophagy, how when you have to take down a barn, right, you can still use stuff, you know. So we put it here to make it look more rustic, right? And that's exactly what your cells do. Okay, your cell is like a barn, and when the barn is no longer good and you have to take it down, it doesn't mean you have to not use anything. So your body also is kind of like that. When it has to take down the barn, it doesn't mean that it won't take some stuff and put it somewhere else. And that's what happens when you're fasting. Okay. This is his girlfriend. Woo! Yeah, give her a kiss.
I'm good.
All right. He's like, I'm good. This is Michelle. Christmas tree. We have a lot of videos. Crazy amount of videos. Yep. All right. So I'm going to end this live stream soon. Stairs need to be redone. So I have 3 years on the house. And so 3 years on the house. Once it's paid, then we're going to start doing renovations. Over here, see this nice section? Just give me a second. Two secs. I don't know if you see it. Can you see it good? Yeah, so this section here, where we put all like these pictures and stuff like that. This, Michelle, my wife, she just took the gyprock off, and underneath it is beautiful wood. So the majority of the stuff here, like we're just gonna rip all this gyprock. They covered the antique, you know, because it's 135 years, the original wood. It looks beautiful. We've just taken off stuff. I think it's over here. Over here, because we have grandchildren, so this is kind of the room for the grandchildren. The floor here, this wood, again, we just ripped the other floor off, and there's, you know, antique wood and stuff like that. So the house really is unique, has some nostalgia to it. This is just his room, not much, because he moved out to his girlfriend, so there's not much in his room. Then, oh yeah, got to show that off. This is just a remnant, but I used to compete in karate and stuff like that, but they started falling apart. So Michelle said you're allowed to keep just a few of them, but I used to have like probably around 30 trophies. I was like, yeah. And then I got my house is this. My wife is the one that does like all the stereotypical man stuff. She knows carpentry, she knows plumbing, a little bit of electricity, she knows mechanics. She's the one that knows how to build stuff. So when she's doing that, what I usually do is I'll wear very tight pants and I'll make sandwiches, and you know I'll bring sandwiches. So that's pretty much what it is. It's really awkward when you go to the hardware store and she's 4'10". She's talking, you know, about a piece that she needs, and the guy's looking at her, and then he starts telling me, and I'm like, I'm just making the sandwiches, you know, just she knows what she's talking about, you sexist ass. All right. So yeah, this is
all her design. And again, the wood here, that's the original. This is the antique wood. She just removed most of it. There used to be like this is chimney doesn't work anymore. All right, guys. So 15 people. I'm going to start the next live stream and we'll continue again. We're going to do the evolution part. All right. All right. So there'll be another live stream popping up in about a minute. I'll see you on the other side.